The shocking truth about Henry VIII. Dark secrets that haunt history today forever. In the shadowy corridors of Tudor history lies a truth so twisted, so spine-chilling, it could make even the bravest soul tremble. Was King Henry VIII a mere ruler, or a puppet master pulling strings in a dark game of death and betrayal? Yes, that's right. This king once murdered his best friends, and the stories of intrigue almost drown out the cries of his victims. Whispers of blood-soaked ambition flutter through the history books, keeping the chill of fear alive today. Picture this, a lavish banquet, the table draped in rich gold linens, while food so fine it would make feasts in the heavens jealous. But lurking beneath the deceptive glamour were hearts pounding with tension. The king smiled, but his eyes burned with an unsettling hunger. When he ordered that fateful toast, the clinking of glasses masked the horror of what lay ahead for anyone standing in his way. The first strange fact, only a handful of his inner circle ever dared speak against him, and with good reason. Disloyalty was met with swift and gruesome consequences. As the flames of the past flicker, tensions rise among the gathered nobles. Their eyes dart, mouths tighten, and breath hitches as the air thickens with unspoken dread. Some saw their friends vanish, their fates claimed by the king's ruthless hand. The echoes of their screams seemed to resonate even from the depths of history. What had happened in the dungeons of the Tower of London? What dark rituals could have taken place there, hidden from the world above? The desperation to know the secrets, to understand the enigma of Henry's rule, pulls the reader deeper into a history soaked in blood. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect, now. As the truth drips from the pages like wax from a burning candle, who among us would dare to unearth the skeletons? Would they find treasures or terror? In the rustling whispers of history, secrets tighten their grip, drawing a veil over the past. Could it be that even the ghosts of his victims whisper their unresolved sorrows still? And what if the answers lie buried deeper than anyone ever dared to dig? The mystery thickens. What will be uncovered when the last stone is turned? A chill ran through the hall as hushed whispers filled the corners like dark shadows, each voice a ghostly memory of those who had met their end under Henry's reign. As the final clink of crystal faded, unease eluded the rich wine twisting in elegant glasses. Among the guests seated at King Henry's table, a lady's hand trembled, nearly spilling her drink as she glanced toward the king's ever-watchful eyes. What game was afoot? The palatial walls felt like a prison, heavy and oppressive, as whispers of betrayal tiptoed through the gathering. The knowledge that some of the men standing beside Henry had once tasted his friendship only added to the palpable dread. Rumors of ambition mixed like poison in the wine, and at any whisper of dissent, Henry had been known to act before others could even think, his judgment swift and free from mercy. Lady Annabel, a keen observer of the court's intricate dance, stared down at her trembling fingers. She had seen it all: friends condemned to silence, allies turned into enemies. The beloved of the court had vanished without a trace, or there were rumors they simply had their lowly heads removed from their necks at Henry's command. But she harbored a secret that weighed heavily on her heart. She had uncovered the truth about the king and his foul rituals, the dark ceremonies amid the barrenness of the tower's walls, performed under the cloak of night. The candles flickered, casting ominous shadows that danced like specters across the walls, and she knew her time was short. If Henry discovered her knowledge, she would join the ranks of the king's past victims. But she couldn't turn away from the darkness. She felt it calling her. Just outside the banquet hall, the guards were changing shifts, and the night descended like a predator lying in wait. Heart racing, Annabel slipped into the shadows, her breath hitching as she moved past the thrumming heart of the court, a well-groomed facade disguising a treacherous underbelly. Her feet padded softly along the cold stone floor, edging closer to the dungeon where history had penned tales too gruesome for the light of day. the heavy iron doors creaked ominously as she considered her next move. Inside those depths lay not just the secrets of those who had come before her but the remnants of curses left unleashed by Henry's insatiable thirst for power. With each heartbeat echoing in her ears, she grasped the iron handle with a sweaty palm, the cold metal shocking her with the reality of her decision. Should she venture deeper, risking everything for knowledge that could destroy her? Just as she was about to push the door open, a voice cut through the air. "Lady Annabel? Are you here?" It was Lord Thomas, his tone a whisper of urgency, but Annabel's instinct screamed of danger. Had he caught wind of her intentions? Would he aid her search for the truth, or was he another pawn in Henry's cruel game? Her heart pounded as dread clawed at the inside of her throat. She hesitated, knowing that revealing her intentions could lead to disaster. What lay on the other side of that door? What darkness awaited her amongst the stones and whispers of the past? Would she stand brave against the king's madness, or would shadows swallow her whole? The balance tilted dangerously. The next moment could seal her fate or grant her the power to change the course of history forever. What would she choose? The silence that followed Lord Thomas's call was thick, as if the very air had conspired to weave a blanket of tension around the breach of those iron doors. Annabel's heart raced, a beast clawing for escape. She fought the urge to spin around and flee. Her instincts warned her against trusting anybody in this den of treachery where allies were just masked enemies waiting to strike. "Annabel?" Thomas pressed, his voice laced with concern. The clink of metal echoed faintly as he stepped closer. She could hear him draw near, his footfalls deliberate, yet there was an underlying urgency she couldn't ignore. The kind that sent ice coursing through her veins. "Do you dare enter the dark?" She thought to herself, the morbid notion trickling in. But the knowledge she guarded would not allow her to leave without tasting the truth of it, no matter how sinister. "Annabel." His voice rose, and having shared so many concealed looks across the banquet table, she sensed he could uncover her secrets just by the tremor in her breath. But should she reveal herself now, any chance of a bond could be twisted by Henry's unseen hands. She inhaled, steadying her resolve. In one swift motion, she pushed the heavy door open, its ominous creak mingling with her pounding heart. She stepped past the threshold as a wave of cold air washed over her like a shroud. Flickering torches illuminated the damp stone passages, shadows writhing around them. "Where are you?" Thomas called again, his voice trailing off, now laced with worry. "I'm here," she replied, her voice a whisper, shrouded in the lingering darkness that seemed to swallow the light alive around them. His figure appeared in the glow of flickering torches, a silhouette framed by the harsh backdrop of haunting stone. "What are you doing down here?" "It's dangerous." "Dangerous?" Annabel echoed. "You speak of danger as if it's something we haven't danced with every time we enter the king's court." He stepped closer, concern deepening the lines on his forehead. "You need to leave, my lady. You don't know what's down here, what horrors are kept beneath the castle." "I know more than you think," she challenged, her pulse racing as she moved deeper into the dungeon's embrace. The crimson glow of a fresh torch flickered ominously above, illuminating the cracks in the stone walls, each one a testament to centuries of imprisonment and secrets held fast. "But what you don't know can kill you," he warned, steel now tempered with fear, and she felt it seeping into her own resolve. "You have no idea what I've unearthed, what I've seen." She felt a surge of courage and compelled herself to look toward the darkened passage further down. The darker shadows held secrets could rattle the very foundations of Henry's throne, a throne built upon unthinkable sacrifices. "Annabel, stop." Thomas's voice shot through her, choking her daring spirit. "You don't understand the weight of those secrets. They could bring Henry's wrath rushing down upon us." Her heart sank. Was it for her own well-being, or did he fear for himself? She didn't have time to ponder. Voices echoed faintly from the darkened passage, hushed, conspiratorial. "What was that?" she muttered, her skin prickling as her instincts screamed danger. Thomas clenched his jaw, his face tight with apprehension. We should leave, before it's too late. No. The defiance surged in her chest, fierce and wild. I need to know what's hidden. The truth is buried beneath these stones, and I must dig it up before it destroys you. He shouted, desperation seeping into his eyes, but the sound faded as another echo grew louder, drawing closer from the shadows. She held her breath. The darkness called to her. A whisper threaded through the air like smoke, grabbing her heart, squeezing it in a vice. Annabel, listen. Thomas stepped towards her, but she stepped back, transfixed. What lay deeper within the shadows? And who else was lurking in the corners of this dark labyrinth? The voices grew louder as danger encroached, everything hanging in a fragile balance. What horror would be unveiled, and would she survive the truth of Henry's past? The darkness breathed, and something shifted over her shoulder, pulling her gaze. What awaited her? A confrontation with shadows, her own or something much more sinister. With every fiber of her being, she felt the pull towards the unknown. What revelations and horrors would emerge from the all-consuming depths? She was torn between knowledge and safety, daring to step forward just as a figure loomed into view. The figure emerged from the shadows, and for a moment, her heart halted. A man stepped into the flickering light, face obscured by a hood that concealed more than just his features. The dim torchlight glinted off the blade at his side, a dagger, sharp and ready. It took everything in her to keep from gasping. Annabel. The stranger's voice was eerily calm, almost melodic, yet laced with an underlying menace. You've come seeking truth, haven't you? Who are you? Thomas interjected, stepping defensively in front of Annabel. His posture was rigid, eyes narrowing at the intruder. Someone who knows things that could shatter your precious kingdom. The man swayed slightly, as if shifting in and out of reality, and Annabel felt the chill of his words dance across her skin. Begin to speak or leave us, Thomas commanded, a mix of authority and fear intertwining. With a slow, deliberate motion, the hooded figure stepped closer. The torchlight revealed a gaunt face, sharp eyes glinting like shards of ice. Henry has secrets deep, vile secrets that even the strongest of hearts cannot bear. Each sin buried within these walls is but a whisper waiting to escape. Annabel's breath caught in her throat. Could this be the catalyst she needed? Could the truth of it be laid bare? What secrets? She managed to ask, her voice steady despite the tremors rolling through her. The man chuckled darkly, the sound sending a shiver down her spine. You tread in waters far deeper than you understand, my lady. The blood that spills below these stones is not washed away by the king's decree. It festers, it cries out for vengeance. Enough riddles. Thomas snapped, reaching for Annabel's arm. But she pulled away, her gaze locked with the man's penetrating stare. What do you know of Henry? Everything, he replied, leaning in closer. How his throne was forged in betrayal. How he trades life for loyalty. Those who cross him, they vanish, leaving no trace. And if you dig too deep. Dig too deep, what? Thomas pressed, his voice rising with each word. The figure straightened, glancing furtively into the shadows as if expecting company. You will find yourself encased in darkness worse than death. You've come searching, little lady, with questions that could condemn you both. The air thickened with the weight of his threat. Annabel's heart raced as she recalled the whispers in the court, the disappearances cloaked in the fabric of George's often misguided loyalty. What if it was true? Why should I believe you? She countered, trying to keep her voice steady against the rising tide of fear. Because the choice is not yours. Henry watched as he paused, letting the silence stretch, and she felt a knot forming in her stomach. He knows you're here. The walls have ears. The deeper you delve, the closer you come to his fury. She held herself against the cold grip of dread curling around her heart. Was this man a messenger of truth, or just another pawn in Henry's twisted game? Thomas shifted nervously, glancing toward the darkened corridor as if anticipating the king's guards rushing forward. We need to leave now. The stranger smirked, revealing a flash of teeth that glowed sickly in the torchlight. Leave? No, this is where it begins. And for you, my lady, the end may be far more dreadful than you think. With that, he took a step back into the darkness, blending into the shadows, leaving Annabel and Thomas both shaken. Annabel Thomas breathed, his voice softening, laced with an urgency she could feel igniting between them. We can't stay here. But she was already moving deeper into the passage. He has knowledge I need. Before Thomas could react, a loud crash reverberated through the corridor, echoing with a foreboding promise. They weren't alone anymore. What was that? Thomas hissed, gripping her arm tightly. We must find out. She hissed back. The thrill of danger thrummed through her veins as they edged toward the source of the noise. As they approached, the walls seemed to tighten, pressing close, the darkness curling in around them like a predator preparing to strike. What awaited them in the depths of this dungeon? Were there more secrets hidden, or were they walking straight into a trap laid by the very king they sought to expose? With each step, the tension spiraled higher. What awaited them in the bowels of the castle? Truth or consequence? As the shadows seemed to encircle them, Annabel knew one thing: they were about to discover the heart of darkness itself. Would they survive to tell the tale, or would Henry's wrath eclipse everything? The echo of their footsteps filled the corridor, muffled by the thick air hanging heavily around them. Annabel's heart pounded like a war drum, each beat a reminder of the dangerous path they were choosing. The darkened passage seemed endless, the flickering torchlights casting sinister shadows that danced on the walls, contorting into monstrous shapes. What was the crash? Thomas whispered, his voice trembling slightly. Annabel shook her head, trying to dismiss the fear clawing at her insides. We need to keep moving. The truth won't wait. The words felt heavy on her tongue. They mocked her courage, yet drew her further into the unknown. They turned a corner, and the faint glow of a dying ember flickered in the distance, illuminating a heavy wooden door. It stood slightly ajar, creaking ominously as if inviting them in. Behind the door, a low murmuring drifted through the cracks, panic and desperation mingling in a haunting symphony. Should we? Thomas asked, glancing back nervously. Yes, we must hear what they're saying, Annabel replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a fire inside her, fueled by the knowledge that the secrets they uncovered could change everything. She pushed the door open, the hinges protesting loudly, slicing through the whispers like a knife. Inside the room, the flickering flame of a solitary candle illuminated three figures huddled together. They looked up in alarm, eyes wide, glancing at the two intruders standing in the threshold. Who dares enter? One of them barked, a man with wild hair and clothes that looked as tattered as his spirit. His eyes darted toward the dagger at Thomas's side, assessing the threat. Wait. Annabel stepped forward, holding up her hands in a gesture of peace. We need your help. We're seeking the truth about Henry. The moment she said his name, the atmosphere shifted. The tension in the room thickened, weighing on them like a heavy shroud. You shouldn't speak of him, another figure warned, a woman with tear-stained cheeks. He hears everything. We must protect ourselves. What do you know? Thomas pressed, urgency coloring his tone. What hasn't the king poisoned in his lies? The wild-haired man seemed to falter, glancing warily at the woman beside him. Are you willing to risk your lives? Do you comprehend the danger? Yes. Annabel asserted, her voice ringing with fervor. We know what he is capable of. We've heard of those who've vanished because of him. We want to put a stop to it. The woman leaned closer, eyes scanning the passage outside. With a trembling hand, she beckoned them forward. If you're truly committed to uncovering the truth, you must understand the cost. Henry's wrath is a merciless storm, and once it is unleashed, it may consume everyone in its path. Just as Annabel felt hope blooming, a loud bang echoed through the corridor, the doors slamming shut behind them as if on cue. The shadows stretched, deepening as the reality of being trapped settled in. Did you hear that? Thomas hissed, panic rising in his chest. We need to get out. It's too late, the wild-haired man said, his face draining of color. He's coming. The sound of footsteps thundered closer, shattering any remaining sense of security. Annabelle's heart raced, but she found her voice. What do we do now? We fight, the woman replied, clenching her fists. Or we run and hope we can outlast the storm. Without another moment to lose, the room teetered on the precipice of chaos, the candlelight flickering uncertainly. Would they face the oncoming storm head-on, igniting the chaos within? Or would they flee and risk the shadows closing in around them? As the door banged against the stone walls, a figure loomed darkly in the archway, backlit by the flickering torchlight. It was the figure from earlier, the hooded man, a twisted grin carving across his gaunt face. I see you've summoned the storm, little lady. The path was set, but would they be ready to confront the fury of Henry's wrath, or was this just the beginning of a perilous game? The atmosphere crackled with tension as the hooded figure stood before them, eyes glinting with malice. Annabelle's stomach twisted. She had expected many things in her quest for the truth, but the sight of this twisted figure had her pulse racing with a sickening combination of fear and fury. Who are you? Thomas managed to stammer, stepping slightly in front of Annabelle, as if to shield her from the impending darkness. The man's laughter echoed hollowly, sending chills down their spines. Ah, brave little mice, scurrying into the lioness' den. But tell me, his voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, why do you seek Henry's truth? Do you think it will free you or bind you deeper into his grip? He is a monster. We want. Annabelle's words caught in her throat as the enormous weight of the man's gaze bore down on her. Want? Wanting only leads to loss. He stepped closer, shadows dancing around him like snakes. Henry does not forgive easily, and those who carry his secrets well, let us just say, they carry them to the grave. Thomas clenched his fists, a spark igniting in his eyes. We'd rather face him than live a lie. Very well, the hooded man sneered. He gestured theatrically as if unveiling a grand performance. If you wish to dance with the devil, then I shall provide the music. Suddenly, the air thickened as the sound of distant chanting echoed through the corridor, a dark chorus rising and falling like waves. The wild-haired man turned, panic etched across his face. It's the King's Guard. They're here. What do we do? Annabelle yelled, heart racing as the reality of their situation sank in. Hide. The woman surged forward, pointing at a trapdoor concealed beneath a tattered rug. Under here. Quickly. They had no time for hesitation. Annabelle and Thomas dove into the dark space just as the figure advanced toward the now closing door. The wild-haired man shoved the rug over, plunging them into a cramped darkness. Panic coursed through Annabelle as they huddled in silence, the thrum of her heartbeat echoing her fear. The low voices outside mingled with their ragged breaths. Thomas placed a hand on her shoulder, a silent promise that they would find a way out. Listen, he whispered, his voice barely a thread. What do you think they're saying? Through the thin wood above, muffled phrases crept into focus. Words of betrayal, fear. Henry's impending fury. Do you hear it? The woman next to them leaned closer, her voice trembling. The King's guards, they speak of sacrifices. What does that mean? Thomas asked, a tremor of urgency beneath his question. Those close to Henry, she whispered, voice quaking. They're not just spies, they are pawns in a game much larger than we can imagine. We can't just run from this. If we want to stop him, we need to know everything. Annabelle felt a cold knot in her stomach. This was more dangerous than they had anticipated. What other dark truths lay woven into Henry's legacy? Their quest for truth could spiral into something far worse than they feared. Suddenly, the creaking floorboards above them splintered, the unease into sheer panic as a heavy boot stomped down. The guard's voice boomed through the silence, search everywhere. Find them. Get ready. Annabelle urged, adrenaline surging. We can't let them take us. Not now. As the trapdoor rattled and every heartbeat echoed like thunder in the tiny space, Annabel glanced at Thomas and the woman, a shared determination igniting. It wasn't just about uncovering the truth, they had to survive this nightmarish storm, and just as they prepared to confront the shadows of their fate, a chilling call echoed through the air, "Bring out the traitors." They wanted to escape Henry's wrath again. The path ahead was dark and uncertain, and they stood on the brink of a new chaos. Would they discover the ultimate truth, or would they become the next victims in Henry's ruthless game? The trapdoor rattled again, the sound of thunderclap heralding their doom. Annabel felt a rush of icy air as the guards above stomped, shouting commands that twisted her gut. Panic blared like a siren in her mind. "We can't just sit here," she hissed, her voice low yet frantic. Thomas's eyes were wide, scanning the cramped darkness for options. "What if we find another way out?" They won't search forever. Where? The words sprang out. There was no exit that didn't lead them deeper into the heart of danger. Suddenly, the woman beside them squeezed Annabel's arm. "We have to create a distraction. If we can draw them away, maybe we can slip out." "What do you have in mind?" Annabel asked, both terrified and intrigued. "Noise. Yell. Make them think we're somewhere else." The woman's urgency made Annabel nod, desperation taking over her rationality. They prepared themselves, a shared pulse quickening in their hearts. From the depths of her being, Annabel released a scream that echoed wildly, filling the wooden chamber. "Help! Someone help us!" Thomas joined in, his voice rising with hers. "We're down here. Someone help!" Above them, a tumult erupted. The guards turned, calling to one another. The heavy thud of boots stumbled over the distorted cries, shouts of confusion flooding the air. "What was that?" "Over there. Now!" the woman shouted, and they pushed against the trapdoor. Annabel felt it give a fraction, just enough to squeeze through, the scent of dust and decay filling her lungs. Emerging into the room, they darted low, hearts pounding while the guards poured toward the opposite corner, drawn away by the ruse. Once out, Annabel's eyes darted around frantically. Moonlight streamed through a cracked window, illuminating the chaos of the room. Old furniture exploded across the floor, papers sprawled in disarray as if a storm had torn through. "Where do we hide?" Thomas was whispering, urgency etched into every word. The wild-haired woman pointed toward a darkened space at the foot of the stairs, a shadowy alcove that would conceal them. Quickly, they rushed toward it. As they crouched together, Annabel's breath caught in her throat, panic mixing with a flicker of hope. They were out and alive, but for how long? Across the room, footsteps neared the trapdoor. The guards were returning, still alert. "Did you hear that?" one asked, a shiver of command in his voice. "It was nothing. Just the wind," another grunted dismissively. "Search everywhere." A new, gruff voice shouted. "The traitors are close. We know it." Annabel's heart sank deeper. They would be found. The echo of their panic would seal their fate. Her mind raced. What had she bitten off with this pursuit of truth? This messy, reckless journey. What was she hoping to uncover? A sudden noise drew her attention back. A piece of furniture toppled over to the left, causing the guards to whirl around. What was that? But it wasn't the guards who were on the move. Annabel gasped as shadows within the far corner of the room shifted, revealing a figure sprawled against the wall, eyes gleaming with a mix of terror and determination. "Please," the figure whispered, thin and trembling. "You have to help me." The guards turned, lunging toward the new sound. Annabel's vision blurred with a mix of emotions. Fear and an instinctual urge to help surged within her, and just as chaos erupted again, she felt the tug of fate tightening around them all. "Wait! Who are you?" Annabel called out before she could stop herself. What if this newcomer held the key? But the sound of approaching footsteps drowned her out, and now time was running out again, closing around them like a trap. What secrets did this stranger carry? Would they unravel to save them or plunge them further into darkness? The tension hung thick as they hovered on the brink of revelation, a truth about Henry that could change everything or lead them to the edge of despair. The figure in the corner leaned forward, trying to pull itself up, every quiet whimper escaping its lips, a new brushstroke on the canvas of impending doom. With trembling hands, it brushed away the dust from its face, revealing a gaunt visage framed by disheveled hair. "I'm Clara," the figure stammered, her voice barely above a whisper, thick with fear. They took me. I know where Henry is hiding." The guard's heavy boots thudded against the floor, each reverberation marking the dwindling seconds of safety. Annabelle's heart thundered in her chest. "Henry? What do you mean?" She barely recognized her own voice, tinged with desperation and curiosity. "I overheard them," Clara continued, her gaze darting between the alcove and the fray of guards. "Plans were drawn, alliances formed against us. Henry is not who you think he is. He has secrets, dark ones." She swallowed hard, her throat working against conviction. "If you want to find him, you must trust me." "Trust you?" Thomas hissed, his brow furrowed in doubt. "You could be leading us into a trap. Do you have a better option?" Annabelle shot back, her voice rising above the urgency invading their makeshift haven. The air vibrated with the tension of their choices, the shadows trembling alongside her words. A crash rang out as the guards burst through the room's door, flooding in with the zeal of dogs on a hunt. "We'll split up," one of them commanded, cutting through the clamor of their movements. "They cannot be far." Panic gripped Annabelle again. "We have to move, now," she urged, pulling Thomas by his sleeve. "Clara, lead us." The ragged woman nodded, her determination igniting with each evocative shout outside. She scrambled to her feet, gesturing for them to follow. Without thinking, Annabelle and Thomas darted after her, hearts racing fast enough to drown out the chaos surrounding them. The urgency of flight drove them forward, weaving through the maze of disordered furniture. As they slipped around a corner, Clara pressed her back against the wall, her eyes narrowed. "We need to reach the lower levels. There's a passage no one knows about. It leads straight out of the castle's bounds." "I need answers first," Thomas insisted, catching a breath. "Why is Henry hiding?" The wild-haired woman's face crumpled, fear gripping the edges of her lips. "Because of a prophecy it claims his reign will end in blood if he doesn't change his ways. They think he's a traitor. They'll kill him if they find out he's hiding here. Underneath the betrayal there's truth, the truth that could save him." Annabelle's mind spun. The revelation twisted the story she thought she understood. "What is this truth?" Clara took a shaky breath, her voice barely more than a ghost in the tension-fueled air. "The child from his past, the one they thought was dead. They will stop at nothing to erase her from history. She is the key to everything." As if punctuating her words, a guard turned the corner, blocking their escape. The trio froze, heartbeats pulsing wildly in unison, trapped in a moment where fear reigned throne-like. "Found you." The guard barked, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "No more running." With no time to lose, Clara pushed Annabelle and Thomas back, ready to confront the guard. "Run. I'll hold him." "Are you insane?" Annabelle shouted, panic washing over her. But Clara stood firm, her determination injecting a semblance of strength in their dashed hopes. "Go. Find the truth about Henry." She screamed as she lunged at the guard. Without thinking, Annabelle grabbed Thomas's hand and yanked him back toward the darkened hallway. They dashed through the corridor, the sounds of the scuffle fading behind them. But the weight of Clara's sacrifice clawed at Annabelle's chest, a fading whisper against the clamor in their heads. "Where is this passage?" She gasped, desperation crawling up her spine. "Just ahead." "But we won't escape without the truth," Thomas panted. "They are already on our trail," she replied, pushing forward. "We need to know everything before it's too late." They reached a door, its rusty hinges creaking as they shoved it open, revealing a chaotic descent down into the dark. As they stood there, breathless and staring into the abyss, a thought sliced through Annabelle's mind: what if uncovering the truth meant more than just saving Henry? And before they could take another step, a chilling echo resounded behind them, the heavy footfalls of guards closing in fast. "Can we trust the truth?" she gasped, her heart racing once more. Suddenly, darkness loomed ahead, and the time for answers was crumbling to dust. The narrow staircase spiraled down, swallowed by shadows as Annabelle and Thomas hesitated at the top. The air turned colder, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something older, something unsettling. A distant clang echoed below, pricking their senses. "Do we really want to go down there?" Thomas whispered, his voice edged with doubt. "It's the only way," Annabelle replied, steeling herself. "We must find out what Henry is hiding. We need to know why they want him dead." She stepped forward, pulling Thomas along. As the darkness beckoned them deeper into its grasp, they descended cautiously, each step echoing in the confined space. The torchlight flickered against the stone walls, casting eerie shadows that danced like phantoms. The world above felt far removed, a distant memory of chaos and betrayal. "I can't shake this feeling," Thomas murmured, his voice trembling slightly. What if Clara was wrong? What if Henry isn't the key? Annabelle stopped, turning to face him, her frustration boiling over. "And what if he is? We owe it to Clara to find out. We have to believe in something." Her voice softened as she remembered the fear in Clara's eyes. She was willing to die for the truth. As they reached the bottom, they entered a dimly lit chamber. Stacked barrels and crates lined the walls, remnants of a world long forgotten. Old maps and faded documents scattered across a makeshift table sent a thrill through her. "Look!" Annabelle exclaimed, her heart quickening. She approached the table, and the scrolls whispered secrets of another era. Her fingers brushed over the parchment, feeling the weight of history, Henry's past, tangled with lies and bloodshed. "These could tell us everything." "It could also be a trap," Thomas warned, scanning the room anxiously. The sound of hurried footsteps above them sliced through the air, a relentless reminder of their pursuers. "Then let us be quick," Annabelle replied, ignoring his hesitation. The urgency of their situation heightened her senses. She unfurled one of the maps, tracing the lines with her finger. "There!" she gasped. "This shows a hidden exit." Thomas leaned closer, his brows knitting together as he studied the intricate drawings. "And if we take it, where does it lead?" "Out into the forest, far from the castle's reach." A breath of hope fluttered between them, but it quickly dimmed as the creaking of the staircase sent chills down their spines. "Annabelle, we can't stay here," Thomas urged, frantically scanning the room for an escape route. "We have to go now." "Wait," she insisted, heart pounding. "We need to know more about Henry's connection to the prophecy." She rifled through the scrolls, desperation pushing her forward. Then a line froze her in place: "The child, the light that will break the chains of darkness, she is the bloodline." "Annabelle," Thomas said, his voice thick with dread. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Anxiety coiled around her chest as dread mingled with the gravity of their discovery. "Henry's daughter?" Thomas whispered, eyes wide with shock. Before Annabelle could respond, a thunderous crash echoed above. The guard was coming. "Quick! We have to go." Thomas grabbed her arm, urgency flooding their movements. They doggedly followed Henry's secret path, hearts racing as they left the chamber and moved towards their uncertain fate. But they couldn't shake off what they'd just discovered. The truth felt like a boulder poised to tumble down. And the deeper they went, the more they uncovered vulnerabilities that made them question everything. As the guard shouted orders from above, their time was dwindling. They turned a corner, the exit just in sight, but Annabelle's heart caught in her throat. "Thomas," she whispered, terror creeping in. "What if the truth we find changes everything for all of us?" The finality of the question hung thick in the air as they pushed through the heavy wooden door, a rush of cool air hitting their faces. But would it be a new beginning or the end of everything they once believed? The darkness didn't just loom behind them, it waited ahead. Annabel and Thomas burst into the crisp air outside the castle walls, hearts pounding like drums, adrenaline coursing hard through their veins. The chill of the night felt foreign after the suffocating darkness of the dungeon. As they stumbled into the moonlit forest, the weight of what they had unveiled crashed down over them. They were free at least for the moment, but what unholy remnants of secrets had they now unearthed? "There's no going back," Annabel said, taking a shaky breath, the frost of her words mingling with fog in the air. "We must tell someone, we must make it known." She felt a tremor of responsibility rumbling in her chest, a fire igniting within. "But what do we tell?" Thomas shot back, guilt and fear dancing on his features. "That Henry has a daughter hidden away. That he has been living a lie that could end his reign. Are we ready to unleash that truth?" His voice shook, an echo of doubt spinning in the air between them. Annabel knew that wasn't just a question of logistics but a question of morality, of lives tangled even deeper in Henry's sinister game. "This isn't just about Henry anymore," she replied, her heart racing. "It's about justice, it's about the ones who fell victim to his treachery." They froze at the rustle of leaves behind them. A shadow flickered, stirring the dread that curled in their stomachs. "Stay close," Thomas warned, his eyes narrowing. A figure emerged on the path just behind them, cloaked and moving with purpose. "Do not fear," the figure spoke, lifting their hood to reveal Clara. Relief washed over Annabel, a mix of shock and gratitude blooming in her chest. "I survived. They did not find me. You need to come with us." Annabel pressed, her eyes widening. "We have knowledge. We know of your sacrifice." "I know better than to stay a moment longer," Clara replied, urgency creasing her brow. "But you need to listen. The guards are not far behind, and after failing to find you, they will turn their gaze on me. We must move." A thunderous noise echoed through the forest. The guards had set pursuit. "In here!" Thomas shouted, pointing to a thicket just off the path. They slipped inside, crushed under the weight of the thorns that wrapped around them like chains. Clara's breath was ragged, but she clasped Annabel's arm. "You both must understand, if Henry's rule is brought down, the child's life is at stake. You may think doing what's right will save you, but the king will not hesitate to snuff you out." Annabel felt the icy grip of fear tighten around her. "What do we do?" "We must find allies," Clara whispered fiercely. "Some nobles are against him. Some wish to see the end of this madness. But how do we convince them?" Thomas echoed, panic flickering in every word. "By offering the truth." Clara's face turned fierce, her eyes sharp. "The truth will be our weapon. The child is the key, a bloodline with the power to ignite change." As the noise of the guards grew more frantic, Annabel felt her heart thudding against her ribcage like a drum. "Then let us not waste time. Let us expose this nightmare for what it is before it consumes us." The three shared a moment of steely resolve, and they scrambled out of the thicket, racing toward the broader paths where feeble hope turned tangible. They whispered plans as they dashed through a course that would lead them to the first noble willing to listen. Hours blurred into moments as they traveled through thick brush and shadowed thickets. Eventually, they reached a manor shielded by tall walls, a sanctuary, but also a potential trap. "This is it," Clara breathed, hope mixed with fear. "We need to convince Lady Sarah. She has influence. If anyone can rally against Henry, it's her." Before they could take another step, the sound of footsteps broke through the night once more. "The guards! Run!" Thomas shouted, adrenaline pouring through them. They bolted toward the manor, hearts synced in frantic rhythm. Once inside the lavish estate, they found themselves surrounded by opulence that felt bitterly out of place against their grime-streaked clothes and frayed spirits. As Clara knocked on the ornate door, Annabel's heart rate echoed like thunder in her ears. "Please, let us in," Clara begged as footsteps approached, the clanking of armor outside drawing closer. Moments later, the heavy wooden door creaked open. A stately woman in rich silks leaned against the doorframe, eyes wide with curiosity at the chaotic trio before her. "What brings you here at such an hour?" Her voice was calm but contained an urgency. "Lady Sarah." Thomas gasped, breathless. "We need to talk about Henry. Time is of the essence." "Come in before you attract unwanted attention," Lady Sarah said, glancing outside nervously. They shuffled inside, a whirlwind of emotions trailing close behind them as the door closed. "Please, you must listen," Annabel urged, desperation coating her words. "Henry is hiding a dark secret, a daughter and a prophecy. The entire kingdom is at risk." With each word spoken, Lady Sarah's brow furrowed deeper. The tensions filled the room like an impending storm, but then, something shifted in her gaze, belief flickered where doubt used to dwell. "You've uncovered something dangerous," she finally said, determination solidifying her presence. "Very well, I will listen. If what you say is true, we can start to expose Henry's sins, but our actions must be precise. Lives are hanging by a thread, and I need you to be sure about your next steps." As their eyes locked, Annabel felt the pulse of fate quicken between them. They held the key to a profound truth that could ripple through history and stir the awakening of hope, a change that could end Henry's dark reign. "Time waits for no one," Clara urged, her eyes fierce with purpose. "We stand at the precipice of justice. Now we must act." With shared determination, they began to weave a plan, breaths united in fervent whispers as the murmurs of a kingdom held captive made way for the sound of liberation. If you loved this conclusion and want more thrilling stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss a single exclusive tale. Hit that red button immediately. Smash the like button now to fuel the algorithm and spread the word. And flood the comments section below with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about how this story might evolve. This is the moment to show your support. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second, the adventure continues.